Hi there, I'm Mrs McTaggart. In this video we are going to look at the introduction to vectors. This is a series of 6 videos, so make sure if you're watching them you do them in the correct order. So let's introduce you to what a vector is. A vector is a quantity that has both a magnitude, which is a fancy word for length, and a direction. And similar to a vector, we have a scalar, which is a quantity that has a magnitude or length only. So here is a list of what vectors are. Vectors could be gravity, velocity and force. If you think about gravity, you have a direction and maybe a speed that you're going at. Velocity, you will have a speed and direction, and for force, you'll have like a strength and a direction to it. Whereas scalars are just a length of time, a measure of speed, a mass. They're like a singular thing almost. I stole this as another wee explanation of it from literally one of the textbooks. So velocity is the one I'm going to focus on. We use vectors to illustrate the direction of a plane. A pilot would be in trouble if all they gave to air traffic control was the speed they were doing. They'd want to know the speed they're going and what direction it is. If we talk about like opening a box of matches, you apply a force to open it, which is known as your strength. But you also would talk about the direction you're pushing it. You say, oh, I'm pushing it like quite hard to the left type thing. So a vector is something that combines the two things. This is an example of a drawing of a vector. Right now this is a 2D vector. They do go into 3D as well. So this is a vector. It's a line going from A to B. This arrow on it shows you which direction we're going. So in terms of the way we read coordinates, we always go along and up. So this arrow is essentially going along and up. And it's got two possible names. We can call it vector AB, which we do know as capital letters with a line at the top. Or we could also call it vector U with an underline. So these are the two different ways of writing this vector, and we'll switch between the two of them depending on what the questions or what resources you are using, but they are both the same vector. Now this vector can be written in what's called a column vector, and I think I've got a little N missing off there in the word column. So a column vector, or the fancy word component form, is writing this as like an upstairs downstairs coordinate. Okay, so if you were to write the coordinate of B, if A was your origin point, think how far you're going along to get to B and then up. You would say that you are going along 4 and up 2. So in component form that can be written as 4, 2. So the top number here is your along number and the bottom number is your up or down number. Similarly, if I was going backwards, so if I had this same vector again, but this time we were going from A to B, so my arrow would be going that way. From A to B would be down 2 and back 4, so B to A would be written as, in component form, remember you always do your along number first, so we'd be going along 4, but that would be back 4 because you're going in the negative direction, and then you would be going down 2, probably better if I drew it maybe going that way. So we'd be going back 4 and down 2, so that would be written as -4, -2. Notice opposite direction, opposite signs on the numbers. So sometimes you'll be asked to sketch vectors, sometimes you'll be able to write down what the vector is in component form, and then we'll do other things with these numbers down the line. So what we are going to do is we are going to look at these 4 vectors and we're going to write them in component form. So we're going to write down what they are. So first thing to do is pay attention to the arrows. That is the direction you're going. So this first vector would be called C to E, which we write like this. Now to get from C to E, think of your long number first. So we'd be going along 3 and then we'd be going down 2. So that as a column vector or in component form would be written as along 3, down 2. Alright, the next vector we're going from T to P following the arrow. So this would be written as T to P. Remember we do our long number first. So we'd be going back 3 and then we'd be going down 4. So in component form that would be -3, -4. Okay, the vector, the next one is going from E to B, because that's the way the arrow is going. So A to B is simply back 3, and then there's no up and down number, so that would just be -3 and then 0. And similarly, on the next one, we're going from K to H, and this time there's no along number, so it's 0, and then it's simply gone down 5, so it'd be -5. And I hope that makes sense. So you just have to remember the way you do coordinates, you always go along and up, and you're that used to going to the right and then up. And if you're going the opposite of any of them, it was classed as being negatives. Okay, so now we're going to do a sketch of a couple of vectors. This has come up quite a few times in an exam paper actually, and it's only worth a couple of marks, but it's dead easy if you understand it. So we have to draw vector u. So this time I'm not calling it AB, I'm just calling it straight old vector u. So it's a straight line, and it's telling you to go along 2 and then down 3. So remember, the first number is your along number, so we're going to go along 2, minus 3 means we're then going to go down 3. So I'm going to pick a start point, and I'll just go here. And I'll think, right, along 2 boxes, down 3 boxes would give this as my end point. And then what I'll do is I will just join them up. Obviously, I would use a ruler if I had one handy. And we join that up. Now, the direction we went is we went from the top dot to the bottom dot. So my arrow would go like this. And then all that would be left to do, that arrow's maybe not clear enough, so we're going that way. And then all that's left to do is label this as vector u. Okay. Right, my next one, we're going to do v. The v is telling us that it's minus 3, 1, so we're going to go back 3, and then we're going to go up 1. So I'm going to choose a starting point. I'm going to maybe do it down here. Let's do it here. I'm going to start there, and I'm going to go back 3 boxes, and then I'm going to go up 1 box, and my finish point would be there. And my vector this time goes in this direction. So back 3, up 1. There's my arrow to show the direction it's going. And then this would be labelled as vector v. Okay, hope this is going okay. And then they want us to draw 2 of v. So 2 of v is literally double of this one. So instead of going back 3, I'm going to go back 6. And instead of going up 1, I'm going to go up 2. So literally I double the numbers. So for 2v, if I pick a starting point, I'll start down here. I'm going to count back 6. So 2, 4, 6 boxes. Then I'm going to go up 2, they would be my finish point, and if I join them up, this would be going in this direction, and this would be labelled as 2v. And you'll notice that is just double the length of that one, because there's the little 1, 3, 1 there. Okay, so that would be what T of v would look like, and then the last one is to draw the negative of u. Well, if u was the one over here, that was going left to right, well, negative u would just be the exact same. Negative u means I would be going negative 2 and then turn it to positive 3. So my start point, go back 2, up 3, and there's my line. And you would notice it looks like the exact same vector, but because it's negative u, all that means is it's a completely different direction. So my arrow, instead of pointing down the way, is now going to point up the way. So this would be the vector of negative u. So if we are ever thinking about a negative vector, it just means the opposite direction. Okay. And then my last bit to talk about are equal vectors. Equal vectors are ones that are basically the same length and the same direction. So which of these two are equal ones? So you're looking for like matching pairs. So I'm going to take a different colour pen, and I'm going to start with this one. So this one here goes along 3, up 1. So this one as a vector would be written as 3, 1. And then if I look for another one that's doing the same, this one down here is also along 3, up 1. Okay. Another pair I can see in common are, oh, I don't have any more in common, do I? So it just says which are the same length, so that is the only matching pair. You might suddenly think that these two look the same, but notice the arrows are going different directions, so they are negative of each other. And then our horizontal ones, one's a length of 3, one's a length of 4. So that was the only matching pair I had there. So that's a quick introduction to vectors. We'll start to do a wee bit more with these, but it's really handy to be able to look at a vector and write it down in component form, and in reverse, look at it in component form and be able to draw it. And it's all about remembering when you plot coordinates, you go along and up. Hope this has helped. Thanks for watching.